The agony of death. This is the very first stage, the moment before the soul departs from the body. According to Islamic tradition, as the physical body begins shutting down, the soul starts its separation from the flesh, and the person sees a glimpse of their final destination, either paradise or hell. Righteous souls reportedly see beautiful angels approaching with pleasant scents, while sinful souls see terrifying dark angels with forms that inspire dread. The entire life of the person flashes before them in complete detail, every action and word replayed in an instant. This moment is described in the Quran in verses 75, 26 to 30, and elaborated in hadith collections like Sahih Muslim and Bukhari, where the Prophet Muhammad described it as one of the most critical moments in human existence. The contrast between the two experiences couldn't be more extreme, with one soul departing in peace and light, while another struggles violently against the inevitable separation. The extraction of the soul, the angel of death, known as Azrael or Malak al-Maut, or his assistants perform the actual extraction of the soul from the body. According to Islamic tradition, for believers the soul is removed gently, like water flowing from a pitcher, smooth and effortless. For disbelievers, however, the soul is torn out like thorns being dragged through wet wool, painful and violent. Angels of mercy descend carrying white silk and perfumes for righteous souls, while angels of punishment arrive with coarse black cloth for the wicked. Throughout this process, the soul can see and hear everything happening around its body, witnessing family members' reactions and the preparations being made. This extraction process is described in hadith collections by Ahmad and Nasa'i, with the Prophet Muhammad using these specific metaphors to illustrate the stark difference. The soul's journey begins here, but whether it ascends or descends depends entirely on the life that was lived. The soul's ascension or descent. Immediately after extraction, the soul begins a journey through 7 heavens, or, for the wicked, a descent through 7 earths. According to Islamic eschatology, the righteous soul ascends through each heaven with gates opening before it, and angels greeting it with joy and celebration. At each level, the inhabitants ask, "Who is this pure soul?" and rejoice at the answer. The soul continues upward until reaching the 7th heaven, near Sidrat al-Muntaha, at the boundary of Allah's throne, where it is recorded in Iliyin, the registry of the righteous. The wicked soul attempts the same ascent, but finds the gates of the first heaven slammed shut, and it is cast down violently to Sijin in the lowest depths. This journey is documented in various hadith describing the soul's passage, though some Islamic scholars debate whether this description should be understood literally or metaphorically. Either way, the destination is determined, and there's no changing course. Return to the grave. After completing its initial journey, the soul returns to the body in the grave, reunited in a partial form that allows it to experience Barzakh, the intermediate realm. The person becomes fully aware that they are dead and buried beneath the earth. According to hadith found in Bukhari and Muslim, the deceased can actually hear the footsteps of family members and mourners as they leave the gravesite, walking away from the grave. The body retains a limited consciousness and sensation, not the full physical awareness of life, but enough to experience what comes next. Time perception changes completely in this state, and what might be a moment could feel like an eternity. Islamic tradition specifies this is not a full resurrection of the body, but rather a partial reunion of soul and flesh, just enough for the person to undergo the trials of the grave. The darkness is complete, the isolation absolute, and the reality of death becomes undeniable. The first night in the grave. According to Islamic tradition, this is the most terrifying moment a soul can face, described by scholars as the loneliest night in existence. Complete darkness and isolation set in as the person realizes that no wealth, family, or social status can help them now. The body begins its natural decomposition, while the soul experiences consciousness of its surroundings. The Prophet Muhammad reportedly said, "This is the hardest night a person faces in their entire existence, earthly or otherwise. Various hadith collections reference this night, describing the darkness as deeper than any darkness experienced on earth, a blackness so complete it seems to have weight. For the righteous, however, this night brings peace and comfort, as their good deeds surround them like companions. For the wicked, fear and dread of what comes next create a terror that makes the night feel endless. The person is truly alone for the first time, stripped of all earthly pretenses and facing only their deeds. The questioning by Munkar and Nakir. Two appointed angels arrive to interrogate the deceased. Angels so terrifying in appearance, they inspire immediate fear. Munkar and Nakir, their names meaning the denier and the denouncer, are described as having black faces and blue eyes, with voices that boom like thunder and shake the very walls of the grave. They ask three fundamental questions that determine everything that follows. Who is your Lord? What is your religion? Who is your prophet? The believer answers with confidence and clarity, saying, Allah is my Lord, Islam is my religion, and Muhammad is my prophet. The disbeliever or hypocrite cannot answer, stammering only that they don't know. They heard people saying something, but never truly believed it. This interrogation is documented extensively in hadith collections including Tirmidhi and Ahmad, and it's nearly universally accepted in Islamic eschatology. The massive, imposing figures appear in the tiny confined space of the grave, their presence overwhelming, their questions unavoidable. The squeeze of the grave. According to Islamic tradition, every single person who dies experiences this squeeze, regardless of their faith or deeds, making it a universal part of death. The grave itself constricts around the body immediately after the questioning by Munkar and Nakir. For believers, this squeeze is brief and gentle, compared in hadith to a mother's loving embrace, a momentary compression that purifies them. For disbelievers, it's a crushing pressure so intense it breaks ribs and compresses organs, with some traditions mentioning the ribs interlacing from the force. Even the Prophet Muhammad mentioned that Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, a righteous companion, experienced this squeeze despite his good deeds. The hadith collections of Nasa'i and Ahmad document this phenomenon, and Islamic scholars generally agree on its universality. The grave walls close in from all sides, the earth pressing down with immense weight, and there's no escape from this embrace, whether gentle or violent. It represents purification for the righteous and the beginning of punishment for others. Punishment of the grave. For those who failed the test, the grave transforms from a simple burial site into a preview of hell itself. According to Islamic tradition documented in Hadith by Bukhari, the grave becomes a pit of fire measuring 70 cubits deep, with flames erupting from the walls and floor. The punishments are specifically matched to earthly sins in a principle of divine justice. Liars have their mouths torn repeatedly from the corners to the back of their heads, healing only to be torn again. Those who spread gossip and slander have copper hooks that rip their faces apart continuously. The grave fills with snakes and scorpions that attack constantly, their venom causing pain beyond earthly comprehension. Each morning, the person is told, "This is your dwelling until Judgment Day," a daily reminder that this torment will continue. Wounds heal and reopen in an endless cycle. Smoke and sulfur fill the confined space, and the heat is unbearable. This punishment continues throughout the entire Barzakh period. Bliss of the grave. For those who pass the test, the grave undergoes a miraculous transformation into something completely different. According to hadith found in Tirmidhi and Ahmad, the grave expands to become a vast space, extending as far as the eye can see, rather than remaining a confined burial plot. It fills with fragrant gardens, flowing rivers of pure water, and comfortable furnishings that make it feel like paradise itself. Islamic tradition specifies that the grave is illuminated with divine light, dispelling all darkness, and pleasant breezes bring scents directly from paradise. The righteous person is shown their actual place in paradise each morning and evening, seeing the home Allah has prepared for them. This causes them to pray constantly, asking Allah to hasten the hour of judgment so they can reach what has been prepared for them. The comfort is complete, the peace is absolute, and the waiting becomes bearable because of the certainty of what awaits. This represents the Islamic concept of the grave as the first stage of afterlife reward. The window to paradise, or hellfire. A portal opens in the wall of the grave, showing the deceased their ultimate destination with perfect clarity. According to Islamic eschatological tradition, the righteous see a window opening directly to paradise, allowing them to glimpse their eternal home with its rivers, gardens, and endless bounties. The wicked see a window opening to hellfire, forced to witness the flames and torment that await them on Judgment Day. This window remains open throughout the entire Barzakh period, which could span thousands of earthly years. For believers, it's a source of comfort and patience during the wait, a constant reminder that their suffering or waiting will end in eternal bliss. For disbelievers, it's a source of constant dread and crushing regret, showing them exactly what they've earned through their denial and sins. Some traditions mention this. Viewing happens twice daily, at morning and evening, though scholars vary on this detail. The window cannot be closed, the view cannot be avoided, and the destination cannot be changed. The long wait in Barzakh. Between death and resurrection lies a period that could span thousands of years in earthly time. Yet time perception in Barzakh is completely different from life. The person remains conscious, but in a state unlike living or being fully dead, a suspended existence in the barrier realm. According to Islamic tradition, they cannot communicate with the living world except in rare, divinely permitted circumstances. The deceased can recognize visitors to their graves and are aware when family comes to pray for them, but they cannot respond or make their presence known. Some scholars suggest that righteous souls can visit and interact with each other, finding companionship in the wait, while wicked souls remain isolated in their torment. The word Barzakh itself means barrier or partition in Arabic, as mentioned in Quran 23:100, describing this realm that separates earthly life from the day of judgment. The duration is unknown to the deceased, and what feels like a brief sleep might actually be millennia passing in the world above. The first trumpet blast. The angel Israfil, designated by Allah to blow the sur, or trumpet, delivers the first of two cosmic blasts that mark the end of Barzakh. According to tradition and Quranic verses like 39:68, this blast is so overwhelmingly powerful it destroys all life in the universe instantaneously. Everyone in Barzakh experiences the shock of total cosmic destruction. All souls still in graves, every living creature on earth, angels in the heavens, everything perishes except those Allah specifically wills to preserve. The universe itself collapses as skies shatter into fragments, mountains crumble to dust, and the very fabric of reality tears apart. This represents complete annihilation before the recreation of existence for Judgment Day. The sound wave is described as beyond anything conceivable, a force that unmakes creation itself. Those in their graves, whether experiencing punishment or bliss, all face this moment of universal death. It's the end of everything before the final beginning, the second trumpet and resurrection. After a period of universal death, Israfil blows the trumpet a second time, and the final stage of Barzakh arrives as souls return to recreated bodies. All souls are commanded with a single word, be, and they emerge from their graves instantly across the entire earth. According to Islamic tradition found in Hadith, bodies are reconstructed from a single indestructible bone called the Ajb al-Danab, or tailbone, which never decays no matter how long the body has been buried. People rise from their graves confused and disoriented, some asking who has disturbed our rest, as described in Quran 36:51-52. The Barzakh period officially ends at this moment, and the day of judgment, Yawm al-Qiyamah, begins. The time from that first breath before death to this moment of resurrection could be thousands or even hundreds of thousands of earthly years. Yet to the deceased, it feels like a brief sleep interrupted. Graves split open worldwide simultaneously. Bodies reassemble from bones and dust, and masses of humanity emerge into blinding light for the final accounting. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now.